Well, my name is Suzan Lindhout. I studied the Master in Imagineering in the year of 2011 and 12. And I'm here today to tell you some of my practical experiences of applying Imagineering in the field. Well, the first time I really applied Imagineering in the field was during my application company. And my application company, I was searching for it and I was thinking what to do. And one of my interests was the healthcare. And healthcare was my interest because I thought it's such an important place where experience makes a difference. It's very much about emotions and feeling vulnerable. And on the other hand, it's a place which is not the direct way you would think of when applying Imagineering. It's not a business where people innovate the whole time and think about more than the actual treatment. So I thought it could be interesting to try to apply Imagineering there. So I found a hospital who was very aware of the fact that they need to market themselves as well. And they did that by being the food hospital of the Netherlands. So they wanted to differentiate themselves with the specialization of food in healthcare. So what does food do during a treatment? How can you involve food in the hospital, outside of the hospital? Trying to make it a holistic view of not only the treatment, but what do you do in terms of food and movement in your whole life. And I thought it was interesting because they added something to it instead of getting just a specialization in the treatments. So I thought that could be interesting. And their question to me was, we started this differentiation about the food hospital that was now, I think 5 years ago or so. And they did many projects, they did research, they did special programs, they gave food in the hospital in a different way. But they noticed that sometime when the employees were not directly involved in one of these projects, they were not feeling involved if I am part of this food hospital. So their question to me was, their assignment, make the employees more involved in being part of the food hospital. But that was the first thing I said. I cannot make somebody feel involved. I can try to invite them and inspire them to be part of it. And that's what I'm going to do. And I need to get in their skin and see what they experience. So the first thing I started doing was investigating, what does food mean to you as a person? Not just in a food hospital, because maybe you have a project within it or not, but what does it mean? And one of the interesting findings that might not surprise you that much is that the language between medical specialists, doctors, and nurses was very different. Their experiences were different. The way they spoke about these topics were different. So I thought that might be interesting because they're treating the same patient, but from a totally different perspective and background and way of handling it, which can contribute to each other if they don't split from each other. And after a long way of what I did in this hospital, one of the most influential elements I did was organizing interactive sessions where I invited nurses and medical specialists to come together and speak about these topics. And I facilitated them to open up and to spread ideas and to understand what it can be. So for example, I asked, what does it mean when you go home and you think about food? Or what does it mean when you give your child food? And then what does it mean if you think about the hospital and food? And involving that, getting it together as in a person, personal values, to applying it in your work field, inspired them to see that there is a lot more than just nutrition in the hospital. And they gathered ideas of, hey, but we do this, and oh, but in this different department we do it totally differently. And by getting them together, they started realizing that it can have an extra value and that it can connect both each other as the patient, as the experience. So the outcome was afterwards they came to me, some of them, and they told me I was a bit doubting to come here because, I don't know, why do I have to speak to a doctor in the session, or why do I have to speak to a nurse? But they were actually inspired by each other, and they gathered ideas that they would not have thought of if they wouldn't be in these facilitated sessions. And that made them understand an extra meaning of food, of their work, and an extra meaning of their colleagues. So it added to both their personal experience and as well as the patient's one at the end. So another experience I want to tell you about is my current job as an Imagineer for a company. Because after I graduated, I started networking and telling people about what I did and what Imagineering meant, and I found a job as an Imagineer for a company. So a little bit of background information about this company. It's called HR Group, and we make all kinds of products in the field of traffic safety. So the traffic signs you see on the roads, the lights, the little couches on the station, on a square, many things you would not even think about when you see them around. I took them for granted, and we produce them. But this company, HR Group, was founded by the owner as a little place where they just made traffic signs in a small house, and it started growing and growing. And 3 years ago, it got a new owner, its son, and it started innovating in a different way. And in 3 years, the 3 last years, we merged over 10 companies within our one. So we combined these different companies in the same field, but not only signs, but now it started as only signs, but now we also do the couches, the Amsterdammertjes, the little poles you see everywhere in the Netherlands, and the lights, different sorts of things all together for traffic safety. And the owner of this company started speaking about this whole history to me, and I explained about Imagineering being a way to involve people in the direction you want to go as a company. So the assignment I am working on still today is both internally as externally. Internally, it's about how can we connect the dots? How can we connect the people in different locations, in different fields, in a little bit of a different products, but still relevant to each other? How can we connect them? And another part is how can we create energy for the employees to go together in a certain direction? So how can we involve them in being one together? And externally, the question was, how can we create a clear brand? Because we started as a production company of traffic signs, but now we want to offer the whole solution for everything. And also, how can we create value instead of a product? Because we don't just walk in saying that this is our product and that's all we have. We can offer a lot of things around it. And how can we involve our employees in selling that as well? So these are topics that I'm working on at this moment. And to give you a couple examples of what I've been doing there, I started interviewing people from all over the company, different locations, different expertise, different layers, different assignments. And I started to ask them, so what is your story? Who are you and why are you here? What makes you get out of bed in the morning and be part of this company? And also, what do you see this organization going? Why do you want to be here? Where do you want it to go? And I started collecting all these ideas. And then I found out that some things were not very clear to the employees of where to go because they were so different in these companies, and also searching for the way to combine each other and to different specialisms and different products, and what do I have to do now, who do I have to contact for certain questions I have. So another step I did was creating sessions for the management team. And I really started digging towards their why. Why are we doing this? What are we bringing to the world? Why should people even care? What do we want to be? Who do we want to feel that we represent? And who do we want to be a part of? And who wants to be a part of us because we connect? And for that, I used a lot of interactive questions, coming together, digging deeper, all the time asking, yeah, but what does it mean? Why do you mean that? Why do you mean that? And going further, further, further. And with that, as of today, we're creating a sort of a strategic framework to say, okay, so this is the main direction we want to go. This is the big leap of where we want to focus on. This is our glasses we put on, and if we have pink glasses and we look at each other in 20 years from now or in 5 years from now, how do we want to be? We're still up to today creating this, and I am involved in it. And another element I am working on is to create concepts instead of products. And this is something the company was already trying to do, because from science they went to, we have a lot, so what do we have and how do we explain people what we can offer them? So now we are trying to find how can we create the concept, traffic safety, instead of the product, the traffic sign. So we're in the leap towards understanding what that can be and understanding the value that is behind that. And with that, we're creating the overall rebranding of the whole brand and its artifacts. Who do we say? What do we say in our communication? What do we say to each other, internally, externally? And I think within that whole process as an Imagineer, I always remember that my job is to inspire and to invite for co-creation instead of sending information. And sometimes this sounds like, well, that's a nice thing, everybody says that now, but really trying to do that in all these elements, you can create a new vision or a new strategy, but how about creating it together? How can we involve each other without not giving any direction? So inspiring and inviting for co-creation all the time. And one of the quotes I always remember when thinking of this is about a ship. You might know it. If you want to build a ship, don't drum up people to collect the wood and don't assign them the tasks and work, but rather teach them to long for the endless immensity of the sea. So we all want to go there and we want to be part of it because we know where the leader is taking us and why we want to go there, but we all feel involved and we're trying to make up ourselves how to get there. And I think in this case, and in many cases, to me that's really the essence of Imagineering.